Professor Abul Ata, how can we explain to Generation Z the conflict, the struggle against the occupation in Arab territories?
You cannot explain the struggle against the occupation without understanding the deep root history behind it. And this history is about 2,000 years old. So it is well worth anybody who's serious about understanding it, looking at what it means during that time. For 2,000 years, the Palestinians lived in Palestine. As simple and as straightforward as that's possible, and there are hundreds of documentations that make that unalienable. You cannot change that fact. You 2,000 years, only Palestinians in Palestine.
True.
The second thing is the issue of the creation of Israel was a solution to a problem in Europe, nothing to do with the Palestinians or with the Arabs or with the region or with the Middle East. For the vast majority of history, Jews living within the Middle East lived peacefully with their neighbors.
Right.
I personally went to school, to classes where there was 2 or 3 or 4 Egyptian Jews. They had names like mine. They might be not called Ahmed, but they would call Yusuf and Kamal and
Murad
Sharif
Farag.
and so on and so forth. So the problems between communities and Jews was almost non-existent in the Middle East. I say almost because from time to time you would have had somebody in power who was not particularly balanced, but he committed problems with Jews, but he committed also with Christians and with other Muslims and so on. So let's forget that. But in pogroms, which is something you mentioned earlier, when they killed hundreds, if not thousands, of Jews on the context that they they abduct children and kill them and use the blood in sacrifices and stuff like that. That went on in Europe between the 9th century and the 15th century, continuously and consistently. So the creation of Israel was a solution to the biggest of those pogroms, which is what happened in the Second World War, when Hitler collected the Jews from all over the countries, from all over Germany first, and then the countries they invaded, and put them in concentration camps and killed his hundreds of thousands there. The Arabs and the Palestinians in particular were not responsible for that, and the Jews, the Jewish movement itself, the Zionist movement, was not very sure. We create Israel in Palestine or in Congo or in Seychelles or in. They looked at Argentina. They looked at Uganda. They looked at different places. But with the Bible, it is easier if we continue. It is easier PR. That the public relations will be easier to do it in Palestine, and that's what they did. This is an occupation, which is the worst type of occupation, which is colonization with the intention of replacing the native people who live in the land. The replacement happened in stages. 1948, they got rid of about 50 to 55% of the population. They threw them out. The rest stayed. In 1967, they get rid of some more, and they became refugees. Now, in the last episode of the war in Gaza and in the lower level war, but nevertheless it is a war in South Bank, in the West Bank, they are getting rid of more. And now, last week, one of their extreme member of Netanyahu government suggested that they open the Rafah pass by force, and they force whoever is left alive in Gaza to cross to this, whether Egypt wants it or not. We're going to do it. That kind of crazy is clear that people who have an ounce of humanity need to stand against it. And I am recommending to my grandchildren and the generation to come after that. They need to equip themselves with the knowledge of the history so that they can resist this.
The transfer is a criminal, war criminal. Netanyahu lead these ideas. I also not can't imagine and can't understand why we suffering in Arab countries after Western citizen killed or fight another Western citizen. What's your comment about?
It is the balance of power. It's as simple as
Yes,
that.
right.
We were weaker
Mm.
at the time, in 1948. The Arab world was very weak. Witness what happened in the war in Palestine. 6 Arab states fighting what we called at the time the Zionist gangs, and they lose.
Right. Thank you for this interview.